Hello, are we back? Hello, hello. Here we go. All right. Hello, Jim. Hello, Lisa, Dustin, etc. Okay, good. So what would we do to optimize Mudze for the liver? Okay. We didn't do every possibility, but we did a lot of strong possibilities in optimizing that Mudze and different combinations and formulas for the lung. Okay, but now we want to, so in any given herb, we can choose to pull out any of the qualities that we want to, but the qualities must first exist in the herb, or if they don't exist in the herb, then we need to balance that herb in a certain way that, but there has to be something that connects, okay? There always has to be something that connects. So what we're doing is we're expanding on the territories of how we would use this herb, Mudze. So we're going to do lung, liver, and the gallbladder for Mudze. But we could choose to focus on making our pivot point on sweetness, or on bitterness, or on neutrality, or even slightly coldness, right? So we can use that pivot, and we can stack any of those things that we want to emphasize any of these qualities. Or we could also do other things to neutralize. Maybe we don't like those qualities. So we could do a whole bunch of other ones that would sort of cancel those qualities out. Although it's hard to cancel, it's easy to cancel out temperature. It's very difficult to cancel out taste, because what happens, you end up just adding more and more and more taste. And so it gets more muddy, not more clear. And it's also very difficult to cancel a channel as well. Okay, but temperature you can cancel pretty well. So anyway, we're learning how to stack here. That's what we're doing. All right, so let's begin to optimize Mudze for the liver. Okay, so I'm going to start sharing the screen. Okay, so we know what we got. We know what we're dealing with Mudze. Now, how do we optimize for the liver? Well, we look for synergies that go through let's say optimize for liver. We're going to look for channels that go through the liver channel, of course. So that's a really easy way to do it. Just look for herbs that go through the liver channel. But we want to make sure, if we're just doing it like that, we want to look for herbs that also have these other qualities, because the more balanced synergies that an herb has for a particular organ system, the more deeply related that herb is going to be to that organ system. Okay, so when we're looking for ways to optimize the liver, well, Mudze is already very optimized for liver, isn't it? Because why? We've got liver, we've got gallbladder, we've got lung, all three of them. So that means we're going to be looking for not only herbs that go through other herbs to combine it with that go through liver, gallbladder, and lung, but also especially herbs that go through the pericardium, large intestine, and small intestine. That way we're going to have these like slam dunk combinations, because we're going to have all these different synergies going for them. Make sense? Okay. So let's keep in mind, we're also looking for pericardium, large intestine, and the small intestine, which is kind of good, because when we're overwhelmed with too many options, it makes things more difficult. Sometimes we want more options in terms of, we have a limited range of possibilities of what we can be doing with the tools that we got. But if we have too many options, then we have to learn how to discern and really split hairs about what's going to give us the most bang for the buck, because we don't just want to load our formulas with a bunch of irrelevant qualities. That's really what we don't want to do, because that'll just make the formula muddy, and it'll make the intention muddy. It's like using a whole bunch of different acupuncture points. It doesn't wind up giving a clear message to to the body about what you want to be doing or which direction to go. Okay, so we don't want to muddy our formulas with a bunch of irrelevant channels or tastes or temperatures. But again, temperature is a little bit more forgiving in that way because we can use temperatures to cancel each other out. Okay, so for optimizing for liver, we're looking for all of these from our liver line, right? We know we're using Mudze in all these formulas or all these combinations. Okay, so that means we're going to look not only for stuff that goes here, so we can start stacking these channels, making those more powerful, but we're also looking for herbs that go through pericardium, large intestine, and small intestine channels so we can get some slam dunk. Okay. Now, pericardium herbs are going to be pretty easy. Small intestine herbs are also going to be pretty easy because there aren't that many small intestine herbs. Definitely not that many pericardium herbs. So large intestine is going to be where we're probably going to spend the majority of our time. That would be what I would imagine. Okay. So good news, Mudze is already ideally optimized for the liver already, right? It's ideally optimized. Okay. It just has a spin towards the lungs relationship with the liver and the gallbladder. Just has that spin. Okay, so it's always going to be, that's always going to be the primary direction that you're working with Mudze. Always, you can't stop that from happening. Because that's what it is. No matter what we combine it with, that's what Mudze brings to the table to begin with. So that's going to profoundly influence anything we do with Mudze, and that's why we're putting it in the formula in the first place, right? Or else we wouldn't have chosen Mudze. We're not doing it because we have to. We're doing it because we have to for other reasons. All right. So actually, it's kind of like when people get into relationships, isn't it? Right? The basic person is there all the time. And the way we're combining these formulas, right? That basic person is there all the time. But different parts of that person will get accentuated or negated, right? Depending on who they're with and what the relationship is like. So it's a lot like relationships. That basic quality, that person is there, but whoever they're with, and friendships too, it's the same thing, right? Different people would bring out different parts of your character. So it's exactly the same thing with the herbs. Okay, so remember, we can go farther in our optimization with Mudze by combining it with those herbs that go pericardium, large intestine, small intestine channels, okay, as well as the channels that Mudze already goes to. Okay, so let's make some liver formulas now with Mudze and see where that takes us. Okay. So, like I said before, we know that we already know that there aren't that many herbs that go to the pericardium. So let's just go in that direction immediately because Mudze already goes through the lung, right? We already have a hand yin channel in the lung if we're going to start thinking formulas. So if we did include the pericardium in our formula, it'd really be opening up the chest, wouldn't it? Even though we're focusing on the liver now, isn't that interesting? We'd really be opening up the chest if we start bringing a pericardium on board as well. Okay. And the liver there doesn't have any other food that it likes to hook up with other than the gallbladder. If we look at our line, right? So gallbladder is really the only other food. So if we're thinking about optimization and creating actual formulas, these are the kind of things that we're looking for. So we're going to want to stack up the gallbladder tropisms to get a good solid footing in our combinations and our formulas. So gallbladder is going to be a good thing to look for there. So the only place the liver really is a swinger is in the hand yang channels, right? And that's between the large intestine and the small intestine. So we got both of those, large intestine and small intestine. And since the large intestine already likes to hook up with both the lung and the liver, we know that, right? We know that herbs that have a large intestine tropism are already going to make strong combinations with Mudze, for sure, right? Because you're going to have that double relationship. So anything that goes through the large intestine is going to have a strong relationship with Mudze, and so it's going to be a stronger formula, right? So let's just kind of reverse what I was just talking about and just start shopping for large intestine herbs to combine with the Mudze, right? because that's where the efforts are going to probably have the strongest payoffs because of what I just said. Okay. Now, unless we don't have to do that, if Randy's showing us that idealized patient, Randy is showing us that the small intestine really needs some kind of TLC, then we can go there and we can do that. And it's easy. But in any case, let's just start looking at the large intestine right now because we know we're going to get a lot of bang out of that. So again, we can go to the Ming-J Formulary Companion, Volume 4. Let's look under Hand Yangming Large Intestine Herbs. And then we start shopping. Okay. So right away, if we wanted to emphasize the lung, well, we already emphasized the lung, right? We did that with the Shuang Liu Huang. We're looking for liver. Well, we can do this for liver. Why not? We can use Shuang Liu Huang for optimizing for the liver. Why not? Because it's already on our list, isn't it? It's got just exactly what we need. Lung and large intestine. Lung and large intestine. We are optimizing for liver right there. So that would give us, if we added the Muzhe plus the Shuang Liu Huang, that would give us a truss that looks like this. Well, it's going to give us not a truss, but it's going to give us a combination. We might be able to make a truss. Looks like we'll probably be able to. Okay, let's see. Okay, so we're stacking the lung. Oops, we're stacking the lung, so that's stronger. Okay, but we know that this large intestine is going to combine with the liver. Large intestine is also going to combine with the lung. The lung and the gallbladder also combine. Now, is this a combination or is this a formula? It's looking to me like a formula. Looking a lot like a formula, isn't it? We got a nice truss going on here with a little bit more of an emphasis on the lung after all. Even though we're focusing on the liver, just because we have that double lung stack, it's gonna have a strong lung focus. Even though everything else is really focusing on, well, they're focused kind of even on the lung and the liver, but a little more heavily on, just because we've got that stack from the lung. Okay, that makes sense. So in terms of the taste, we're going to have sweet and bitter plus bitter, so it's going to be more to the bitter side. Neutral to slightly cold, it's going to be coolish. Okay, so we have a mostly bitter and neutral formula that goes into that liver matrix. Okay, we could use that formula. What would we use it for? What's it going to do? So we could do the same thing that with a formula or with a combination, and we actually should. Same thing we were talking about earlier in describing an herb. Okay, what does this formula do? Well, it's neutral and slightly cold, and so we see the bitters stacked up there, so it's going to be cleaning and clearing toxin. Okay, it's a little sweet. It's going to be nurturing or nourishing a little bit, consolidating a little bit. Right? Where is it doing it? It's doing it in this matrix. This matrix right here. Okay, so that's what our formula is going to be. Okay, so that's a mostly bitter and neutral formula. It's going to go into the liver matrix. So that could be for liver congestion that's affecting the lungs. Maybe for this also affecting that liver congestion could be affecting the lungs, the sinuses, or the digestion, or all of the above, right? It could also be wind heat that's shifting from Yangming to Shaoyang levels. It would work really well for liver-related nosebleeds or maybe a lost voice that happens frequently. Something like that. Right? Hope you get that idea. So Shuang Yu Huang. So combining it with a liver combination that also happens to be highly slanted to the lung, which we also just did. Okay, let's keep on going. All right. Maybe we could add Sangye. Watch what happens when you do that. We add Sangye. So here's what we were doing before with the Shuangliu Huang. We were just emphasizing the lung and the large intestine, right? So we got lung and large intestine. But basically what we're doing here, if we add Sangye instead, we are adding the stomach as well. Okay, so that'll be lung, large intestine, and then stomach. Like that. And we're also going to be double stacking the liver. This brings us way more into liver territory than with our previous. Then we're going to have this stomach and the large intestine. So this is going to be clearing more heat because it's going to activate the Yangming more, isn't it? Right? So it's going to clear the heat more just from that Yangming activation. Okay. So it would also be for a colder picture with more emphasis on clearing Yangming heat. And let's add something else to see what that looks like. Let's try to add some Hongqin. Very frequently using this herb, Hongqin. Right? So we'd be stacking up the lung and the gallbladder here. Stacking up the lung and the gallbladder. All right. No liver with that Hongqin, but we do have large intestine, which is also going to go well with the lung and the liver. Possibly Sanjiao, which would go with the gallbladder, make that gallbladder association very strong. Like that. So here we'd be cleaning more heat and toxin, especially because we'd be stacking that gallbladder tropism here. That would be cleaning more heat and especially more toxin here because that gallbladder involvement. All right. So let's try another combination. I'm just going to keep rolling combinations at you for a while because we want to get used to what all these look like and how we use them. Again, optimizing for the liver. Here's a good one. Udze plus the Kusha. Like that. Okay. So that's going to give us all these channels. Looking very liver. Okay, so what are we stacking here? Are we stacking anything? We're stacking the liver. But no gallbladder with the Kushan. And that's it. Well, this is interesting. So this is a cold and bitter combination, right? Nearly fulfills all of our desires for a liver matrix except for the pericardium. Okay, so we got that large intestine and the small intestine going on. So that's good. So we got the food pretty nicely covered between all of these things. We got a lot of food clearing that liver. Okay. Cold and bitter combination. Okay. Remember, those pericardium synergists, we're looking for the pericardium, the liver, the stomach. Remember, the stomach is so strong as a pericardium synergist. It's got that double relationship. Sanjiao and the kidney, right? The stomach has a double importance for the pericardium. Because of those synergies. So we can almost say that we're actually bringing in the pericardium distally, okay, here in this formula, especially because we already have the heart and the lung are both involved. So, right, we've got heart and lung, plus all these different pericardium synergists, right? Stomach, stomach and the liver, like that. Okay. Almost say that. We can't quite say it. I would say, again, it's kind of like in doing the Bodzi. If there are 3 or more synergists, then we can definitely say we've distilled an Erbium sort of by using the distal process, just like we can do with the points in the acupuncture, and we do it with the different relationships in the Bagua when we're using the Bodzi, the Bodzi, okay? So that stomach, remember, has a double importance. So we can almost say that we're bringing in that pericardium distally, all right? And particularly because the heart and the lung are involved. So that means we would have the entire upper jiao going on, going bitter and cold with this combination of Muzhe and Kushen. That might not be so obvious to begin with, but when we really start analyzing it, that's really what's going on there. Okay. All right. And the heart is a strong synergist with the small intestine. Small intestine is right in there. And we've actually stacked that. No, we haven't stacked the small intestine, but it is in there. Right. So this is a great heat clearing formula. It actually works great for the head, the upper and the middle lower jiao. Works for all those because we've got all of these, got that gallbladder, stomach, and the UB draining fire out of the head there. Upper jiao, we've got heart, lung, and kind of pericardium. A little bit of invocation of that. Middle jiao, we got the stomach and the small intestine. We got the liver. We got that. Stick down here, right? Exactly like that, right? So it's good for the middle jiao, right? Even the lower jiao with that large intestine, the UB, and the liver. We can also consider the liver as part of the lower jiao as well, because it kind of sometimes we consider it to be part of the middle and sometimes part of the lower. All right. It's a great heat clearing formula. You've got all of the, you got all these food working for you here. All these food, you got Fu City, all this food working to clear the heat out and any other toxin that might be lingering around. Why? Because you're already using this Kushen, which is so great for clearing heat and drying dampness. But also because that extreme bitterness and the coldness, it's going to be cleaning poison and toxin. We add it together with the Muzhe. It's going to bring actions of the flame much stronger into that liver system. Okay, so this is how we think. Okay. So it's a great heat clearing formula, okay, for all of these, for all the jiao. It goes through this matrix here, okay. What's the emphasis going to be on this, Lisa? I'm going to open up the chat here. What's going to be happening here with this formula? It's going to be, are you there? We know the territory, we know the temperatures. It's going to be opening and cleaning the small tubes and vessels, okay? That Muzhe, for sure, okay? So our ideal patient could even really be in trouble with a lot of heat and all kinds of congestion here. And this formula is going to set them straight. Okay? It's a great combination for clearing heat from all 3 jiao. Now this combination do another combination. Wu-Ze plus Hong Tong, clear heat and clean toxin. We got large intestine and the liver. So what is our territory going to look like? It's a great combination. Look. Great combination. It's a very lean formula. This is a formula, right? Why is it a formula? Because look, it has our classic lung and liver truss. Like that. This is a formula. It's a super lean formula. It's focused on clearing heat from the liver and the large intestine systems. Okay, or on using some Yang Ming assistance even to help the gallbladder to clear heat and toxin. So another way we could look at this. Dropping that into this matrix. This Hong Tong is a very, very useful herb, Da Shui Tong. It's also, because it's one of these tongues, it's good to clear the heat, the arthritis that's related with the hot toxin. And that Hong Tong is super good for that. So again, our formulas, they don't need to be big or complex. They just need the accuracy and the right timing. That's the way to go, okay? What if our ideal patient, Randy, what if he develops some dry constipation that leads to hemorrhoids? We can do this by symptom also. I would think a good combination would be this one. Songzhiren, which is pine nuts. That's an easy one to do. It sounds even like some kind of elegant kind of a dessert at a fancy restaurant or something. If even Wu-Ze plus the Songzhiren, it's pine nuts. So that's going to soothe the bottom there, isn't it? When we look at where this is going. So we stack the lung and the liver. We got large intestine and the gallbladder both. So let's think about another combination. Maybe something for liver congestion that's compromising the lung, leading to swelling. Or maybe the situation that we're talking about here, maybe it progresses to the point where there's swelling in these areas. We could add another seed, which is the Donggua seed. Donggua seed. Which gives us something that looks like, let's type it out. Okay. So this is our stack. We're stacking the lung, we're not stacking the liver, we're not stacking the, not stacking the liver, we're not stacking the gallbladder. Only the lung, we're not stacking large intestine. Like that. Okay, so this is a formula. When we put it into our truss matrix, our truss structure rather. Hmm? Although I flipped it here. Sorry about that. Let's do this. Much prettier. Hmm? This is a strong formula, okay, with the Dongguazi. So this is going to address that constipation. Hmm? So this is liver congestion with the constipation. The Dongguazi is really, really, really good. It's sweet. This is one place we want to invoke this sweetness to help generate more fluids. Okay, cold to cold. Hmm? So let's do another combination. Hmm? Maybe it's a similar situation, but it has a lot of qi congestion plus deficiency. Then we would add another herb we were talking about this morning with John Maxwell's formula, which is the dafuku. Okay, that's going to activate things more because it's more accurate. Right? The Dongguazi is sweet. Hmm? So if there was a lot of qi congestion or deficiency, we want to shift from the sweet to the acrid. Because if you just put the sweet stuff on that congestion, it's not going to help the congestion. We need to disperse it with the acridity of dafuku. Okay, so that'll activate it and move whatever the problem is, move it through and get it out. Okay, so you see these combinations and these formulas, they don't need to be perfect according to the line on the chart, but they just need to be perfect according to the patient's condition. Okay, so we want to use those charts as a guideline, but we don't want to get too rigid. We want to look at what's actually going on with the patient. Well, maybe they've got different kinds of combinations of their meridians that are going on that don't fit conveniently into what our system or what the superficial aspects of our system is working with. But if you take the sort of the basic components of our system, yes, it does work. Sometimes we just have to switch yin and yang around, right? Or use different channels than we might think of off the top of our head, but we got to match the patient, okay? So again, it doesn't need to be perfect according to the line on the chart. They just want to be perfect according to what the patient's condition is, which means you need to match the condition, okay? So understanding that the lines on the chart make very strong medicine, but it doesn't have to be strictly that way. Okay? Those are ways that you can optimize the power of a formula, all right? What if we have another formula, another patient situation that's similar to this, but Jueyin congestion is causing bleeding or maybe even seeping vessels? Then we want to pull out this herb, which I don't think we've talked about for a while. And that herb is Sanqi or Tianqi. Okay, a lot of channels. This goes through also, right? So we have a whole Jueyin congestion here. Plus, we got some assistance from the spleen and the stomach also. Stomach, spleen. Well, look at all this Jueyin support we've got here. Liver, pericardium, large intestine, liver, gallbladder, the lung. We got the whole complement of that Jueyin congestion to help to move it, right? Moving it at the level of the blood. Tabimuze plus Sanqi, very, very powerful. And even though Sanqi is said to be warm because of its opening qualities, it can actually clear heat from the organs too, and especially with Muze, it will clean that heat from organs very, very effectively, depending on where you target it to go to. So we want to be careful not to just throw our patients into generic categories like so many other medicines do. We don't need to do that because we have this ability to diagnose people in very, very precise ways, right? And we actually have more than enough to work with the people as they are, right? That's part of what I'm trying to show you is that um, we want to keep the essence of our balance method practice. We need to learn how to apply it in a lot of different, very flexible ways because we've got all these different organs going on, and we're playing around at a very different level than when we're doing the acupuncture, when we're using the herbs, because we are adding, in a certain sense, I know we talked about this before, but it bears mentioning again, when we're doing the acupuncture, basically we're working with neutral chi regulation most of the time, unless you go to certain points where you can clear heat more with the acupuncture. Some of them you can generate heat with, but that takes a lot of special doing, and usually the addition of moxa as well. So, so like that. Okay. So anyway, we want to be careful not to throw our patients into those generic categories because so many medicines do that, and we wind up missing really important things when we do that. You don't need to do it because we have so many tools to work with. Okay, so let's try another. What if that patient has hemorrhoids, and those hemorrhoids get really to be a very strong part of the picture? Again, we're still optimizing for the liver. Huaijiao. Huzhe plus the huaijiao. Wow, this is a really cool combination. Let's look at all this liver, right? Pure liver going on here. Very, very strong with that fruit of the sulfura, that huaijiao. We could be even simpler, actually. We could add the huaihua instead. Yeah, the huaihua, and we can really pare down the number of channels that we're using with something that's more coherent, right? Well, they're all coherent, but send it more in the direction we want and simplify it a little bit. Sometimes we want to expand what we're doing, and some other times we want to simplify a little bit more. But once we know the basic structure that we're working with, it becomes really easy. So then we can do all kinds of different ways and play with it, okay? So here we would be stacking up the bitterness with that bitterness of the mute. We'd be stacking the liver. And that large intestine is there clearing heat. And then also we're actually focusing on the large intestine itself, which is rare when we're doing this kind of work. But we actually are focusing on what we would call the large intestine itself with both of these herbs. But because it's working, both of these are working so strongly with the large intestine channel, it means we could use this formula for something like nasal polyps from liver blood stagnation, couldn't we? Yeah, like that. So that's a really significant sort of expanded Mingjie use of using some of these large intestine herbs. Okay. What if there's more stuck liver blood in the picture? Then we could use something like this. Jinbu Huan means don't trade it for gold, right? That's an important herb. You're not going to trade it for gold. Okay. So this would work really well for a situation where there's nasal polyps from liver blood stagnation. Okay. Maybe even the polyps themselves have blood stagnation. They're harder than the other stuff that we were talking about earlier. Harder. So remember that large intestine and its connection with the sinuses and this part of the throat too. Okay, it's very, very important. Another herb that you could add if there's a lot of liver qi congestion that's creating phlegm in the throat and messing with your patient's voice, remember to use the Pingda form. Like that. Okay. That'll clear it out from the throat, especially if there's a lot of phlegm there. Okay. Now, phlegm can accumulate and sort of spin around the blood congestion very, very easily. So once something gets to blood congestion, we got to work with some serious softening, cleaning, cleansing that area. So that things like phlegm and other kind of toxins don't get pulled into the blood congestion. Okay. What if our ideal patient actually does get external wind heat situation happening? And it results in a dry cough in the sinuses. We could add something like Xingren. Like that. Okay. Let's take the Jingduhan out of here. We could add something like Xingren. So this would be for dry cough and the sinuses. Classic attack of wind heat. We could use something like this. Xingren, sure, why not? Okay. If that formula is not strong enough, we could stack another herb here, right on top of it or right next to it. And that is the Madolin, which sadly is difficult to get at this point because it's the fruit of the Aristolochia plant, which we know has some toxicity and it can cause some problems with people's livers and kidneys. So we don't use that anymore, right? But it would make the formula stronger in the short term for sure. Hopefully, if they just took it once or twice, it wouldn't cause any ill effects toward the liver. Okay, what about if this patient gets yang deficient, but they still tend to heat? What would we add? Rather than Xingren, we would add Hutaren. Again, learning how to differentiate. Okay. That's for some yang deficiency, but basically tending to heat in the same kind of a situation, but he's yang deficient also. Okay. Here we're stacking the lung, and everything else is working independently. With the gallbladder. That plus the Hutaren is being that large intestine. That's going to be helping that food to open up and dump it out. Also, you could look at it inversely, and you could say the Mudze helps to balance and offset those side effects of too much yang from the Hutaren. So you could combine them with the flipped idea that actually you don't want that Hutaren to be creating too much heat and fire, which it does easily. Those oils in the Hutaren can easily turn into fire and manifest as like mouth sores and things like that. So it helps to balance those side effects of too much yang. The Mudze would help to balance the side effects of having too much yang there, right? Okay. Now, what if our patient becomes yin and blood deficient? What are we going to add? What are we going to do? Okay, so this patient's going all over the map, which they often do. We could add something like Kojima, a black sesame. This is a great combination here. Okay. So that would help to further cool and disseminate any kind of yin tonification. Right? The Mudze would be helping to cool and disseminate that yin tonification probably get out through and move through all those tubes in a vertical liverish way. Or how about we were talking earlier about the insect stings and insect bites. So we could combine Mudze. Let's say Randy gets stung by a scorpion. What are we gonna do? We're gonna cry to mommy, or are we going to make a formula? Or both? I would make the formula first and cry to mommy later. Okay, so we could take Mudze and put it together with Qingfeng. Okay, it's very toxic, but it's accurate and it's bland. So what do we do? If it's so toxic, then we just use it for external application, don't we? Mix it up with the Mudze, make a paste of it. So that's how we would do that, okay? External combination. If it gets too toxic, no problem. Just to use it as an external combination for something. There's a great example of us using the poison to treat the poison, okay? See, it's actually quite easy. Okay. What if we wanted to emphasize that tiger relationship? Then we'd start to look for optimizing the gallbladder, optimizing for the gallbladder. So let's take a 10-minute break, and then we will we'll come back and we'll start optimizing Randy's tiger. Okay. All right. See you in 10.